Investigators are still trying to determine a possible motive, but Lieutenant General Miley says the suspect did suffer from mental conditions and was in the process of being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Reporting from Killeen, I'm Isamar Terrazas for Bobcat Update. With an increase in law enforcement training, some students and residents still don't feel safe if an active shooter decides to strike. These are the remains of a 30 to 40-year-old Hispanic male. The forensics team here at Texas State is hoping to identify him in order to be sent to his loved ones. Grasses haven't turned completely green since the period between December and February have been the 10th driest in 10 years, and March hasn't helped at all. Police call them active shooters. They are people who set out to kill as many people as they can. Active shooters have brought tragedy to the U.S. like 2012's Newtown massacre and this past September's Navy Yard shooting. San Marcos law enforcement officials say they are taking measures to try to stop such events from occurring here. San Marcos is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. It is home to one of the largest outlet malls, and it attracts as many as 35,000 students to the campus at Texas State. San Marcos is vulnerable, just as any community, to having an active shooter, but local and university officials say they've taken measures to ensure the safety of the people.
We actually rehearse all these things. We practice setting up command posts to deal with large-scale incidents. We train our people to deal with those emergency mass shooting incidents, and we equip them to deal with it.
Texas State University has established the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training, or ALERT program, for local and university officials. It is funded by the U.S. Justice Department and works with the Federal Bureau of Investigations in training officials on how to handle an active shooter situation and avoid mass casualties.
Our officers and deputies from all the agencies around here have been through our training. They're very well prepared, and hopefully this tragedy would never strike our community. But I think if it did, you would find a very swift and effective response by local law enforcement.
With an increase in law enforcement training, some students and residents still don't feel safe if an active shooter decides to strike.
I'm not sure that they are actually that prepared, and I'm not really sure that you can be prepared.
Government officials say they are confident that enforcement of existing laws will help prevent bloodshed in Texas.
We have a very robust concealed handgun license program where some 500,000 Texans who are at least 21 years of age, who don't have criminal background, have gone through the test, are able to have a concealed handgun license. And so I hope that some of these massacres will never happen in the future in Texas.
For Bobcat Update, I'm Isamar Terrazas.
This is a huge issue. It's a silent mass disaster along the entire U.S.-Mexico border, in particular Texas.
Helping identify human remains is a huge learning opportunity for students, and their work is also helping national and international agencies in identifying missing persons. Last summer, 63 bodies were exhumed from a Brooks County cemetery and brought to the Freeman Ranch at Texas State. There, graduates and undergraduate volunteers remove any remaining flesh from the bodies, completely cleaning them up, and begin the identification process. The bodies arrive with personal items like clothing and jewelry, which are stored in an icebox for preservation. The department also works with Baylor University and the University of North Texas, as well as the Argentine Anthropology Forensics team.
We don't just want to box up a set of skeletal remains and then just send them back to the families without any supporting information.
These are the remains of a 30 to 40-year-old Hispanic male. The forensics team here at Texas State is hoping to identify him in order to be sent to his loved ones. Once some of the characteristics needed are established, the information is then uploaded to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NamUs. The system is also helpful in reaching families in Mexico, Central, and South America. The processing of immigrant bodies would be too gruesome for the untrained, but for the forensic science students, it is a necessary task that they volunteer to do.
Some of these are very young individuals, and we don't have that many young individuals in our collection, so we can learn from that too, for aging and sexing methods.
None of the remains have been identified as of today, but the forensics team is working to ensure that all the remains can be given a proper burial with a full name on each grave.
Somebody crosses the border to come into this country. It's just wrong for them to be buried and never thought of again. Everybody deserves the chance of identification. We have human rights in life and death.
Reporting for Bobcat Update, I'm Isamar Terrazas.
Spring is normally a wet season for parts of Texas, but most of the state has so far seen little rain. The Lone Star State has been in a drought for almost 4 years. The 2000 Halloween flood helped a little, but the impact was brief.
We're now back into the moderate drought category, and much of our central Texas area, especially out in the hill country, is back in the severe to extreme drought category. So we've seen improvement in the last year in central Texas, but we're far from out of the woods.
The flood may have provided some relief from the drought for a couple of days, but so far this year, Central Texas has only seen 2 inches of rain. With hurricane season right around the corner, KXAN meteorologist Jim Spencer says being hit by a major storm might be a good thing for Texas.
If we could have maybe a weak hurricane or maybe tropical storm come in just the right place on the Texas coast where it doesn't affect a whole lot of people, and then it moves slowly up into our area and maybe stall out for a day or so or continue to move slowly, we can get soaking, drought-ending rains.
Grasses haven't turned completely green since the period between December and February have been the 10th driest in 10 years, and March hasn't helped at all.
The city of San Marcos is currently under Stage 2 water restrictions, which means only scheduled watering is allowed. One positive result of the restrictions has been lower utility bills.
If we have to go out and find new supplies, it's expensive, and those costs will be passed along to the citizens. So it helps them in the long term, but then it also helps them in the short term because they're using less water and their utility bill will be lower.
City officials recommend cutting water usage even more if possible. Forecasters are already predicting what the summer season has in store.
I will tell you that the official forecast right now is that the drought is going to persist or intensify, is what the Climate Prediction Center says. It will persist or intensify between now and June 30th, and that is not good news.
Fines for breaking the Stage 2 water restrictions in San Marcos range from $100 to $2,000. For Bobcat Update, I'm Isamar Terrazas.
Austin police are investigating a human smuggling ring. Police found close to 30 undocumented immigrants inside a single-family mobile home on Tuesday just southeast of Austin. Investigators say most of them were brought to the U.S. from Central America and were being held against their will. The Human Trafficking and Vice Unit took the lead on the investigation after receiving a tip from an informant, which led to the bust. Most immigrants showed signs of being harmed and mistreated.